Let's talk about the big, ugly bill, inflation, and the demise of the dollar. Now, as many of you have probably heard by now, the big, beautiful bill passed. And the unfortunate thing is that included in it is an increase in the debt ceiling of $5 trillion. You heard me right. That's another $5 trillion, which is over 10%, almost 15% tacked on to the debt ceiling that's allowed to be spent by the government. Now, as you probably also know, the US government is completely bankrupt right now. We have no money. We are running in the negative. We are running in the red, and we have been for a very, very long time at an increasing pace. So even though you may be trying to be as fiscally responsible as you possibly can, the government essentially has a credit card with your name on it, and they are like drunken sailors at a strip bar running up your credit card to the moon. So while you're doing everything possible to protect your family, to secure your future, the government is running completely wild, accumulating debt on your back that has to be paid back in the future by you and your future generations. This is not good, and this is going to create a lot more inflation than we've already had. There's pretty much no way around it. That is just the reality. As the money supply continues to grow, inflation is going to continue to grow. That is basic economics, and that is how it works. And so that means that you have to prepare. You have to be smart about the decisions you make, and you have to find ways to survive given the incredible inflation that we're going to have. Unfortunately, we have not seen wages keep up with the inflation rate over time, which means we are effectively getting poorer and poorer as time goes on. And this is obviously not good. This is not a desirable outcome, but the government is doing it anyways, and they just don't care. And seeing the massive decline in the dollar over the last several months really shows us how bad things are getting. That means that all the foreign purchases we make are becoming much more expensive for us as Americans because the rest of the world is running from the dollar. They don't want to invest in the dollar because they believe the dollar is going to continue to lose value to inflation as it has been. So basically, the only things that we can do is everything we can to minimize the effects of inflation on our lives. So invest in assets sooner that hopefully will increase in value with inflation over time. To the best extent possible, avoid holding cash and things that are going to lose value as inflation continues. And then just try to pick out the best assets that we can that we think are going to do well with inflation. Generally, commodities do well with inflation, or companies that have a lot of pricing power, their stocks and their returns tend to do very well with inflation over time. And these are the types of assets that we have to consider to protect ourselves from what's coming. Additionally, owning your own home, I think, is tremendously important right now because it's the only way that you can fix your costs in terms of having a place to live and having a roof over your head. I do not feel this way about investment real estate, especially in my market here in Los Angeles, where I'm a realtor. And I've shared in the past why that is. But definitely when it comes to having your own personal residence, you do not want to be stuck paying rent in a highly inflationary environment. This will absolutely kill you, and it will wipe you out as time goes on. So you got to get your foot in the door, make sure you have a roof over your head, and your costs are fixed, because what's going to happen is 5 years, 10 years from now, when we've had massive inflation, the costs that you're going to pay for your mortgage will ultimately look teeny tiny compared to what people are paying for rent 5, 10, and 15 years from now. So it's the best thing you can possibly do to protect yourself and your family, and also find other assets that are going to do well with a lot of inflation. And that's really all you can do. Aside from that, we all have to try to get together and do the right thing, get the government to stop spending money, because the truth is if everybody gets something, we're all going to end up having nothing. The government doesn't have any money to give other than the money that they either tax from us or they create in new debt, which creates inflation for us to pay. So it's an inflation tax. One way or another, we are footing the bill and we are paying the tax. So we have to get together and we have to decide that we don't want this anymore. We don't want any more spending. We don't want the government doing this stuff, and stand together and rein in this reckless spending. So that way we're going to have a future that is not just based on rampant inflation and spiraling costs all across the board for everything we need to live and survive. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you need help with real estate here in Los Angeles, give me a call. Thanks so much.